Hello and welcome back to Kubecon, CloudNativeCon EU 2026. We're here from slightly cloudy Amsterdam today, not too shocking. We're into spring and allergies are kicking.
Oh, they definitely are.
Put it mildly. Paul's joining me here again, and we're going to be talking about one of our favorite things here. We're going to be talking about feature flagging and OpenFeature with the folks from Dynatrace. So welcome on Michael Beemer, who's Principal Product Manager for Dynatrace. Welcome on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we have Jonathan Norris, Director of Engineering for Dynatrace as well. Welcome on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, to me, this is, again, one of these favorite things for me to talk about because as having been and built product, it was, going from using like a spreadsheet to actually having a way of approaching and flagging features to bring them out, test them, or bring out certain things to different customers is super important. So I'm really excited that, kind of help us understand what's been going on this week with OpenFeature and now that DevCycle is part of Dynatrace and how things are going.
Anyway, yeah, it's been a really great week overall. I think this is the biggest collection of OpenFeature maintainers and contributors we've had at a Kubecon, and so we spent a lot of time just like sitting down together, face to face, hashing things out. A lot of those maybe difficult discussions you have in open source, you can like really get through a lot of the details when you're sort of sitting face to face. So it's been great to really see the progress and how OpenFeature is growing. Like, I think we're at that phase where we're starting to see that exponential growth in the downloads of OpenFeature SDKs, and we're seeing large companies like Google get involved as contributors, and Datadog, and obviously Dynatrace has been the main sort of contributor to OpenFeature for a while, getting it started over 4 years ago. And it's just getting to that phase where you can see like it's getting exponential, and I think it's where maybe OTel was like 4 years ago is kind of where I think OpenFeature is starting to get to, and I think more and more large platforms and companies are using it, and we always sit at the booth, and every time we find a new company that's using OpenFeature that we didn't know of before, and that's always like a fun experience for all of us.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I'll say that coming out of Dynatrace Perform, Dynatrace historically has been known to be like the focus on the IT ops, the focus on the observability space. Now you're pivoting to the developer. DevCycle is really kind of driving it. The feature flag pieces are really, really important to the developer. What I really like of what you're doing is you're feeding the insights from the traditional Dynatrace platform into the IDE, directly into the IDE. So can you talk a little bit about that? No, I won't say a pivot, but like the adding on to the IT ops and the developer persona.
Yeah, I think it's kind of covering both roles. So you have to have a great developer experience, because developers, are the ones that kind of add feature flags to your code. So they, feature flags start and end with developers, but really like the operations team need to be on board as well. And I think they can help sell that to maybe the first development team, and then like a large enterprise, it starts there. They're proven to be successful, and that can spread throughout the organization. So,
and the core value for feature flagging for a big organization is when you can separate releasing code from releasing features to your customers, right? And so when you make that logical separation, it really unlocks your teams to ship to production more efficiently, more quickly, and really de-risk those like big bang code releases to production. And so whenever I'm telling people about feature flags, I'm like, imagine a world where you didn't have to worry about the code releases because you weren't actually releasing new functionality or code changes to your end customers until you rolled them out progressively through a feature flag.
Yeah, I think that was part of it when we've talked before. Getting to trunk, right? How do you not have to go through all these different merges and things of that nature? Is that been a lot of the, like when you're talking to these folks, again, having less, different streams that you have to bring together by having feature flags and then putting it in and then bringing it through. Has that been part of the—
Yeah, absolutely. So basically just trying to get features merged into main as quickly as possible. It doesn't mean it's released to customers. You can keep chipping away at it. You can have product managers take a look at it in production before customers are impacted, and it kind of just changes how you release software.
And with the pace of like AI development, just generating and creating new features so much faster,
yeah.
I think most engineering teams are really going to start to feel the pain of their slow deployment cycles, right? And so you look at some of the biggest AI companies out there, the OpenAIs, the Anthropics, people like that, they're shipping a feature a day, and all those features
are behind feature flags, so they're testing internally in production, using feature flags as a core part of all their workflows, and so if anything, in the new wave of agentic development, like feature flags are going to be a core like release and delivery process to do that, and I think it's only going to get more and more important, and that's why even standards like OpenFeature become more and more important, because now the agentic systems understand, hey, OpenFeature's the standard like OTel. If you say, hey, I want to add feature flags to my app, the AI is probably going to recommend this open standard and the extensibility that comes with it.
Yeah, Jonathan and both Michael, you both mentioned this, that the acceleration of the SDLC, the acceleration of the development, delivery of applications, we're seeing in our research, in 2025's research, 24% of responses, global survey, 24% of respondents indicate that they want to ship code on an hourly basis, yet only 8% are able to do so.
Yeah.
Adding feature flags into the CI/CD pipeline really helps with allowing for that. What's a P0? What's a P1? How do you push it out the door? Is that where you're seeing the kind of intersection between the CI/CD pipeline and the IT ops side?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're able to ship a lot faster, but that's also where maybe the risk comes in, or the opportunity for observability tools. Like if you're kind of blind to the impact of a feature flag, and you're introducing new challenges then. And so I think that's where it's an ideal pairing, bringing the DevCycle team in, building a new offering in Dynatrace, and kind of combining the worlds of like faster releases with the kind of the safety and oversight that a observability tool brings in.
Yeah, I guess that's where I was going to ask, because like when you traditionally APM and feature flags don't, you don't usually think of them together, but to me, it makes sense. Hey, I put these 5 new features in, I have them flagged on or off, I know which customers are doing that, so you're limiting your blast radius. Has that been one of the things that you've seen from customers as well?
Yeah, like most customers, when releasing large features, might just roll them out to a small percentage of users, or like they may have one of the features we have within DevCycle is you can set up beta test groups where people can actually opt in to being like, I want to opt into the beta of this feature. Like it might be fully in development feature that somebody is shipping, and those enable you to, we can then connect that with the observability data and say, okay, we see this new error report that's causing, I don't know, an issue or a crash in our backend service, but we can know that it's tied to this feature flag that's only enabled for like a couple customers, a couple people are seeing it, and having that insights allow you to be like, oh, okay, maybe we need to roll that back, make some code changes, and move forward with it. And I think you can see where things are going once you tie observability, feature flags, AI together. When you connect all those things together, there's a lot of power that can come from it.
Yeah, when we see, I love where you went with that, because I think that the fact is that the two barriers that I see organizations talking about with overcoming these challenges to deliver applications is complexity and skill gap issues, right? Those are 2 areas you hear all the time. When you're looking at the code to deployment to runtime validation, there's so many pipelines, right? So you take what Rob was saying, like you take the observability pieces in, that observability pipeline, the APM pipeline, and then you have to tie that into the DevSecOps pipeline, right? And those actionable insights, we're seeing everything shifting left, or shifting everywhere really, right? and you see that shift happening, but like there's a lot put on the developers. How is this helping with reducing complexity and skill gap issues?
Yeah, I think one of the things it can do is it can actually enable other parts of the org to own sort of that release process, right? And so product managers could now be the ones who make maybe the final call of like, is this feature ready to go or not, right? If you're not tying a big bang code release to production that, like, I don't know, you have 10 teams trying to ship one code base to production and trying to line up all these different things to do this big public announcement, that can be really risky, right? I think every manager of at any tech company has had issues with that in the past, and by chunking things out into feature flags, you can say, I'm going to do a release of this feature today because it's ready, I'm going to do this other release of this feature later next week, and all that code might actually have been in the same code release a week ago, but you can sort of plan out those releases and enable those features, and product managers and product marketing and other parts of the organization can actually help own and control the timing of those and be involved in that.
Yeah, and like one of the concepts we're going to include in our offering is kind of wrapping multiple feature flags together under a feature. And so like the feature is meant to be like encapsulate the business context around the release. And we think that could be quite interesting too. If you could bring in like performance and like business telemetry there, you could actually see what the impact of a feature was, where a lot of times it's like, PMs maybe have good intentions around collecting, KPIs on a particular feature, but if we can do that automatically, then it's, it's something you can just get in the habit of tracking.
This has been one of the core features of the DevCycle platform, where when you look at our dashboard, you look at the DevCycle platform, you're not looking at a long list of feature flags that some developer made that you have no context is. Right. You're looking at, oh, I'm shipping the new checkout flow, the new onboarding flow, the new whatever feature, and you're seeing at a high level, these are the features my teams are shipping, and they're assigned to these specific teams. So it's almost like, as a CTO, as a higher level executive, you can look at our dashboard and be like, here's actually what's in flight, here's what actually is shipping to prod, and then within those features, you might have I've seen hundreds of flags under a feature before, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it, I mean, again, going back to my days of actually shipping code, right, and to your point about who can then go and ship it, it becomes, a lot more fun for being able to see that business context and relate it back, because for instance, it may take multiple sets of sprints to actually finish out a feature, or maybe you get through 3 out of 5 and you're like, hey, it's good enough to go for what we want to test out. Are you seeing, as from an open feature perspective, that to Paul's earlier discussion, the personas are almost changing, and people who are coming in and looking and trying to figure it out? Like, do you get product managers and others outside the development community that are coming in and looking at that?
Yeah, I mean, for open feature specific, I think it's probably most attractive to like engineering teams. Yep. Feature flagging concepts apply, across a lot of personas though. Right. So I think here at KubeCon it's a little interesting. There tends to be more operation people, so right. we try to hit it more for like, the safe releases and thinking it from that angle, and then hopefully then they go back and tell their development teams to take a look at open feature. Yeah, I mean, I would assume from a platform engineering team, they're sitting there going, hey, this can help us help them go faster. Is that kind of one of the things? So we've seen that too, yeah. So like at the last KubeCon actually, we had a guy come up to us and said like, he was on the platform engineering team, and he's like, we don't really care what backend you use for managing feature flags, but they're recommending open feature for all their teams. So
I think for platform engineers, a lot of times they own that big bang code release, and they have very little context to like what's actually in those code releases, and they're responsible for getting that shipped to prod. So for a lot of them, like, their teams adopting feature flags dramatically reduces the risk of those big bang code releases going wrong, right? So I think actually for a lot of those platform engineers, like, they should be evangelizing feature flagging and these methods to their teams, because it actually shifts the responsibility to the teams actually building the features, right? Like, if that feature's not enabled in production until the team shipping it has tested it in production and the product manager or the QA folks have QA'd it in production, that really reduces the risk for those operational people, and probably makes their lives a lot easier in the long term.
Yeah, so with that, I mean, on that same vein, like, there's an understanding of people that are like, hey, I use Dynatrace, I'm familiar with Dynatrace, I'm familiar with observability, right? I'm familiar with APM. I guess it's a good opportunity to say, like, how easy is it to just try DevCycle? How easy is it to kind of bring this on board?
I take that one.
That's
your product.
Like, the nice thing about OpenFeature, right, is that it's similar to OTel. Like, we modeled the program after how OTel is set up, where there's a standard set of SDKs, a standard set of APIs that are consistent across languages, across platforms that you can implement, and then you can plug and play providers in there, right? And so for a lot of, we hear this a lot, that there's a lot of companies out there that have maybe multiple feature flag providers or internal solutions that they've built up over the years. And so with OpenFeature, you can actually create multiple providers and sort of plug it all into one common interface and start the process of like, let's maybe over time slowly migrate those old internal solutions or to an open source solution or to a vendor like DevCycle. And so, yeah, the OpenFeature sort of platform and SDK gives you that ability to mix and match and combine different vendors and providers under a single like common interface.
So, this has been great, but I want to know, between now and Salt Lake, what should we expect from Dynatrace feature management and OpenFeature?
There's a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes, I can tell you that.
Yeah, we're
I'll
gonna be
put them on the
busy.
spot.
No commitments.
Roll out your roadmap.
No commitments on the roadmap just yet, but from the open feature side, I think we're really pushing towards how do we get this to a graduated project, like with the number of large enterprises that are using it in production already, the big contributors, like some big names coming on board, like the Googles and the Datadogs and the and some of the existing sort of large enterprises that are using it. It's like, I think we're at the stage where like, okay, this is almost like the API layer is kind of settled. We're getting a lot of those things to 1.0. How do we become a graduated project and sort of and grow this thing to the scale of an open telemetry as part of the CNCF?
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on here and helping us kick off day 3 here. Been fantastic. Always good talking, and a thing that's near and dear to my heart as well. So I mean, I just know the pain of what I used to do in a spreadsheet before there was things like OpenFeature. So thanks for coming on board.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And thank you, Paul.
Of course, great being here.
Absolutely. And thank you for watching this episode of theCUBE live from Kubecon, CloudNativeCon EU 2026, live in Amsterdam. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned.